Okay, I want to talk about Duolingo because I'm a big fan of their app and I love their marketing, but I don't love their community building, to be honest. And this is why. So, this is the Duocon website. I actually got an email from them because I pay for Duolingo to learn Bahasa Indonesian. I was invited to Duocon this year, which is really cool in theory. But in practice, I look at the website and nothing really relates to me as a language learner. So if I was on the community team for Duolingo, here's what I would do differently. I would firstly segment the entire customer base on what language they're learning, where they're at with that language learning journey, and what their goals are. I would then target different groups of people based on all of those criteria. So say they were learning French, they were really new to the topic, and their goal was to be able to speak French before they moved in 6 months' time. I would send those beginner French learners an email inviting them to Duocon. And instead of having topics like what Duocon has here, which to me seems more about Duolingo, the app and the company, great for an internal conference, not so great for someone that is trying to learn a language. I would invite them to specific events around how to learn faster. They kind of do this with events like Top Secret, a new way to practice conversations, but a lot of these just don't resonate at all. It reminds me of corporate events where people are just trying to show off internally what they're doing, but not really resonating with customers. I would also have the ability for me as a language learner to meet other language learners. This is something that I really struggle with Duolingo. I don't have the ability to practice my language with other people of my own skill level in a really easy format. And even if Duolingo didn't want to deal with that themselves and deal with all the management, they should be pointing their customers to communities that already exist. That definitely didn't happen for me when I started using Duolingo. I get the opportunity to connect with friends, but even then, it's very limited. It's more gamified in terms of just showing up every day to learn, which is great. I mean, it definitely does keep you going with the whole streak society concept. But besides that, I actually want to connect with people that are learning the language and we can share tips and little hacks about how we're learning faster and what TV shows we're watching, all those kind of things. So if I was on the Duolingo community team, I would definitely be creating communities for the different types of learners, where they're at in their learning journey and what language they're learning. Doesn't have to be complicated. I would actually keep it really simple. And things like including Duocon 2023, 2022, it's great, but again, I also just feel like this is more for the internal Duolingo staff to sort of boast about what they've done. I've looked through these previous YouTube videos. It's like an hour long of the previous conferences. If I am a learner, I don't have time to look through all of these and figure out what topics were covered. I'd actually just have key takeaways that you could learn from Duocon 2023 as a language learner. Create bite-sized videos instead with content, and I would distribute that in social media rather than just having these full-length YouTube videos. It just doesn't really help me digest that information. Overall, I love community conferences. I love seeing people get together. I love the fact that they're doing this worldwide and that they've included the timings for local markets. It's a little shame that obviously if you're based in Asia Pac, it's usually the market that suffers the most with these global events. There's always going to be a few time zones that struggle. You can't meet all of their needs. Some of the ways that other communities have overcome this is by actually streaming twice, especially so that you can encourage live participation in those markets versus them having to catch the recordings later. And look, as a Duolingo user, I am more than happy to hear new Duolingo features and learn more from people within the Duolingo team. But I want it done in a way that resonates with me. And that's my advice to companies that are building communities. Make sure that you always put your customers or your member base and their needs ahead of your own. These events are not just for you to look good as a company. It's for you to actually help your customers achieve success. It's for you to be able to communicate two-way with your customers. I always say it's really important to leave your ego at the door, and I mean it. I'm just sharing my personal opinion here, but I'd love to hear from you guys. If you think that Duocon is done really well, then yeah, share your thoughts.